Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super Fantify. This week's show, we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about Onmyo Kaiten Rebirth Verse Season 1, Episode 7. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Okay, so I've said it before and I say it again. Just like every episode that passes, this show continues to blow me away with just like the twists and turns, and it always keeps you on your toes. Like I said, you think you got things figured out, and then it's like, nope, it pulls the rug from underneath you. And this is the episode we find out, I think, for the most part, and kind of maybe in totality, we don't know what the full end goal is. We know what the end goal is, but what that looks like, that particular end goal, and why that end goal is so important. Well, I'll discuss a little more and kind of flesh out what I'm trying to say as I break down the episode. But we're picking up with Takeru waking up in a location which I immediately was like, this doesn't look like the stage he normally wakes up at. He always wakes up there, and it's like, it seems like he's not in the same location. No matter where he dies, he always ends up in that location so far. So I'm like, that's different. But then he's like, oh, where's the stage? And the guy nearby is like, I don't know what you're talking about. There's no stage here. And then Takeru looks around. He's like, well, it looks like Denji Heian-kyo, but like it's a little different. This certain area is destroyed from fighting with an Oni, but that wasn't the case before, especially considering I'm supposed to have gone back in time. Then he asked about Atsunaga, and it's like, well, Atsunaga's dead. He's like, wait, what? Because he even asked about Tsukimiya, but she doesn't exist. I was like, because my initial thought was, oh, could it be because last time Tsukimiya didn't die, but every other time she died? So I was like, maybe he's in a world that if you don't die in the previous loop or whatever, you don't come into the I was like, is this almost like purgatory? Because I'm like, if you don't die, like she didn't die last loop, does she not exist here? But it's like, to be fair, Atsunaga didn't die in the last loop, but he is dead here, but he also existed too. So I was so confused. It's like, and he's looking like, yeah, things are different. He sees a little rat thing that's been so continuous throughout the series, and he follows it, and he goes to a higher point in Denji Heian-kyo, and he sees in the distance there's remnants of another. He's like, what's going on? And then we cut to Sime, who apparently has the answers because he immediately recognizes Takeru. But I'm like, that's so interesting, because that was the thing I was struggling with for so long. I'm like, what, you had times alone with him, so why didn't you ever interact with him when it seems like you might have known what's going on? And like I said, I wondered if it was like a program thing where it kicks in as a failsafe to be like, oh, I now know the truth of everything, but it's buried under my subconscious. It's like, no, he's played dumb the entire time because he's waiting, because he didn't want to interfere with anything. This is an experiment, and Takeru is the X factor that he's trying to see how he plays. So it's like, I don't want to interfere too much. I'll implement myself here and there because you're kind of starting to implement with me, so I'm gonna play a little dumb, but I'm also gonna start feeding you breadcrumbs because I'm curious to see how you react. Either way, we see that the person who's he is behind all this, because in fact it's him, specifically him and Shino, who end up summoning the black mist. And I'm so curious, this won't really mean as much, but Shino and Kazuha, they feel a little Nier-esque. I don't want to spoil something, but I was like, it feels like you're playing a similar role to certain characters in Nier, because we find out later on, they're in the know about all this. They seem to be, they exist, I guess, as his helpers. Maybe they're physical manifestations of whatever instruments that allowed Sime to do what he's doing. But anyway, he summons a black mist, and then a Shikigami shows up, but it's attacking all the people that are frozen. And for Takeru, it's like, that doesn't make any sense. And then another Shikigami shows up with Yura inside, and it's like, oh, that Shikigami, it looks like an Oni to them, and that it's really a Shikigami who's seeing all these frozen people as just regular crystals. Because Takeru had noticed those previously. He's like, what's up with those crystals? I've never got an answer for it. It's like when everyone's blinded and sees the other side as an Oni, they see all the people as just those crystals, so they don't seem like anything. So, because I was wondering, they're not moving or anything, so I was like, do you even see them as Oni? It's like, no, you just see them as crystals that don't mean anything. And Takeru like tries to stop them from fighting, and then Sime shows up and breaks it all down. And I was okay. So once again, I like it because like this is a fantasy thing, but it does some really like heady time travel stuff. I love the reveal of this. Is once again, I thought this was a time travel story, and it kind of is a time story, but it's more we're not traveling on the horizontal lane. We're not traveling on the vertical lane. We're traveling on the horizontal lane. And I guess if you want to kind of look at it that way, this was never like a traveling to the past situation. It turns out that Takeru is jumping to alternate realities. I was like, whoa. So basically, there's over like 100 Denji Heian-kyos, and basically they're at war with each other because like the whole conversation last episode about like, oh, the energy of one defeated goes to the other, because this is like a battle, survival of the fittest. It's basically a gauntlet, a battle royale between worlds. So I'm like, I mean, if you're familiar with the MCU, essentially I'm like, whoa, we're doing like essentially a multiversal war. It's kind of what Kang's plan was, and then like He Who Remains, spoilers, put an end to it. But this also kind of like still staying in the Marvel realm. This is basically what Doomsday / Secret War is supposed to be, the clashing of universes. And it's like, I mean, that gets a little hairy depending on like the continuities and like the distinguishment between like a parallel timeline and a parallel universe. Because sometimes they're equated as the same thing, but other times they're treated as two separate things. So like I said, it just depends on the continuity and stuff like that. But because that's why whenever Takeru like died and popped up again, why things were different, even just the slightest bit different, because that's what parallel universes are and parallel worlds are. It's like things are always going to be a little different. He ends up being in a reality where Atsunaga isn't here anymore. Tsukimiya doesn't exist in this reality for whatever reason. And like obviously there's slight variations, like what's his face? Was it Wado, who works at a hardware store? But yeah, this whole thing has been orchestrated by Sime. The Bellflower thing, the full length truth of it is, it's meant to make it so that it's easier for people to digest. Because like, oh, people would have a hard time, like, you need people to be all about the battle. It's him trying to make this a blind test of, okay, whoever comes out on top moves on to the next round and moves on to the next round, so on and so forth. But he's like, basically each world only lives for 100 years, so he has to restart it every once in a while and make 100 new worlds. Because he talks about the fact is the world Takeru's from, he's like, Denji Heian's going, isn't it? He's like, yes, like the 21st century I'm from, like that doesn't exist. And his plan is to, I'm going to make it so the peaceful world of Denji Heian continues. And the only way I can do that is basically I want to make a super world. All these different variations of the world, when they're destroyed, their energy goes to the winner, and we reset the cycle over and over again until I'm able to create a super strong, perfect world that will allow me the strength and power to basically make it so that this world lives on. Now, why he personally has taken on this mission, why he felt like it was his call, like, He's in this Thanos bag. They could probably make the argument some he's a little Kang, he's a little Thanos, he's a little Doom, all rolled into one. Because he believes himself to be like, I'm trying to make a better future and sacrifices will be necessary. So these people aren't traumatized. I'm basically having them kill other people, other variations of themselves across the different parallel worlds, by disguising them. And that's interesting too, because like Takeru had this mark before he even ended up in this world. So somehow Sime was able to put it on him back then. Not unless it was actually Tsukimiya who did, just because it was kind of a necessary thing for his journey. Because I'm curious if like the Tsukimiya from his dreams, like I brought it up, like I thought it was interesting, like he dreamed about Tsukimiya over and over and over again. Was he meeting different Tsukimiyas each time, like a different Tsukimiya from different worlds that have been destroyed over the lapse of time and stuff, for basically that have been destroyed over the past 1,000 years? Or could it be a situation of it's only one Tsukimiya he's been meeting? Like, could it be the Tsukimiya he meets in this world? I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm like, could that be the one Tsukimiya? Like, could there only be one true Tsukimiya and the others are just kind of not real? Or maybe the other Tsukimiyas don't know the truth of their originality, that maybe she's the original. Has she been jumping worlds too? Because she knows Takeru. So has she managed to jump worlds as well, or maybe it's like they are all exactly the same, but the problem is maybe Sime makes adjustments. Like he treats it like a computer program, and he's able to probably, who knows if he's able to like personally interact with the code of the residents. So I was wondering like if Tsukimiya is here, maybe he reprograms her and recodes her to be what he needs her to be, or because it seemed like he was blindsided by this Tsukimiya, but he's also seeing this as an opportunity because he's like, oh, it's just it shows like the true depth of Takeru's power, and it just kind of shows like I'm entering the final stages of my plan because it's all coming together, and Takeru is the key like I thought he was. But this is some like twisted shit. Like I said, to go through the trouble of like creating basically a multiversal, multi-parallel world, like war, just to see survival of the fittest, bring it all to one perfect world that you want to keep going in perpetuity. And like I said, I don't know if like my running thing has always been, I think he's got to be like a robot that is programmed to keep this world alive, and knowing like what's going to become of it for whatever reason, he knows the future of this world. And so it's like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna make a perfect world. Because he even says like the reason why he knows Takeru is because he's like, every one of us from these different parallel worlds share the same memories. So I'm wondering like the moment a world gets absorbed, so does he end up absorbing his memories. But none, because I think him, Shino, and Kazuha are like different from every other regular resident of Denji Heian-kyo. So, and obviously it's something I didn't really think about last episode, was like the harsh reality of finding out the truth of this. I mean, it's also, he's like, oh wait, I'm killing people, but you're not thinking, at least I wasn't thinking at the time, oh my god, that means every time he's fought an Oni in the past, it's actually been a Shikigami. He's basically been killing Onmyoji from different worlds, and every time like he's killed like any Oni at all, he's been killing civilians and essentially helping destroy the world. Essentially, that's what the Black Mist situation is each and every time. Is like you're helping basically destroy another world, even though you're trying to make a better future. And that's why Sime is trying to say like they are the same. It's like, oh, you're fighting and killing for the purpose of trying to make a better future. He's like, I'm basically doing the same thing. We're cut from the same cloth, but it's like, you do this willingly. And there's like this line from, was it Kazuha, like it's kind of saying like, almost like making it sound like this wasn't Seime's plan. Like I said, I feel like he's responding to something like a mission or a creed that was given to him by someone else. Like I said, they might all be robots, and this was just programmed in him by their master, and it's just gotten lost and deranged over the years, because he buried whatever form of feelings and he had, just because it's like, I'm being realistic about this, I'm being pragmatic about this. But Takeru is like the humanity is like bearing like the weight of knowing like you've killed people, you've been responsible for people's death. It's like I haven't just been protecting people, which I have, but I've also been killing people, and that's like a hard thing to comprehend, because like all he ever wanted to do was initially was just protect Tsukimiya, but it's like, no, I've come to care for these people. I want to protect everyone. I want to change the future to make a better world. But it's like now, like every world you're going to, it's like, I mean, who gave Seimei the right to basically play with people's lives? Create these worlds. These people are living their lives. Yes, they may be parallel versions of each other, but they are still people. There's so many lives that have been lost, probably millions, if not trillions, because this has been going on for 1,000 years of different worlds clashing, and it's like so much death and destruction. And like, who are you to get to determine that, to play God with these people's lives? No life is more valuable than another, so, but like those lives are absorbed into another and another as this battle royale between these worlds continues. And for him, it's like, oh, so what are you going to do, Takeru? He's able to kind of subside Takeru's Yasha mode, because he's almost saying like, because they have such control over the Black Mist, and it seems like Takeru can like absorb the Black Mist, and like that's actually where his transformed state comes from, it seems like. And Seimei's able to like dismantle that. So he's like, oh, in this bubble here, you can't use your power. And so He's like, I will dispense of you if I need to, but also that power of yours to jump to parallel worlds, even I don't have. But if I have that, it could be the key to my end goal, and so I need to study you. But we did earlier in the episode see some mysterious person. It didn't even initially cross my mind. It's not until they pop up later that I was like, well, we know there's no Tsukimiya in this world, so it's got to be Tsukimiya, isn't it? And so, yeah, she shows up and she helps Takeru. And, she knows the truth about the world whittle is what this is. What's interesting, though, is I'm wondering, it's like, does he have to feel Shion and not Shion, Shino and Kazuha like about everything every time? Because Shino is like, oh, do you know her? Like when I think he even says Sukumiya's name out loud. And it's like, oh, do you know her? And it's like, oh, based on the description and stuff. So that must mean like he fills them in every parallel world about what's going on. So and they, are just as just as responsible in this regard because they are complicit. Complicit is the word I was looking for with this whole situation. They stand by Seme's side because maybe they believe that what he's doing is for the betterment. Maybe they believe in the same future, but even Kazuha seemed to have some reservations about all of this as well. Like I said, almost implying that this wasn't maybe this isn't where things road hell, good intentions. Same adage. I use that quite a lot. And so maybe there's something here where Seme did start off with the best of intentions, but over enough time you get eroded. Takeru's still early enough in this where it's he hasn't become pessimistic and rather numb. Numb would be the right word, where Seme has become numb to it after 1,000 years. So Takeru's still looking at it there has to be a better way. There has to be another option in front of us that we don't have to continue down this horrendous path. But Tsukimiya wants Takeru to help her join in on this fight to kind of end all of this. And so she's like, yeah, that's why I came from the moon for this. And he was like, wait, what? And so I was like, okay, so Tsukimiya. I was like, is she supposed to be Tsukiyomi in this context? Because once again, a lot of this is pulling from Japanese mythology, but I think once again, do correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel it's specifically Shinto Buddhism mythology. I think that's all one and the same. Well, I mean, it's a facet of Japanese mythology is the religion of Shinto Buddhism, but hopefully I'm not equating stuff that might just be Japanese mythology as a whole or some other facet of it with stuff from Shinto Buddhism. But like Amaterasu, Suano, and Tsukiyomi are all from Shinto Buddhism, aren't they? Like I said, do forgive me for my ignorance. Because what was throwing me is because for around high school, in my teenage years, I was on my introduction to Tsukiyomi was there's a JRPG called Shadow Heart's Covenant, and one of the main characters can transform into a being. Basically, it's you can fuse with the spirit or something and transform into almost a monster-like form. And one character had a form called Tsukiyomi. In that, they portrayed Tsukiyomi as a woman. It wasn't until later in years that I was like, oh, Tsukiyomi is a guy because Amaterasu. Because I think I didn't correlate it in my head that Okami. That I did. At least it'd been so long I didn't remember that the main character of Okami is Amaterasu, because Amaterasu is the goddess of the sun, Tsukiyomi is the god of the moon, and Suano is the god of thunder and storms. But maybe that's not always the thing. Maybe it is a shadow. Maybe this is kind of a Shadow Heart's Covenant thing where they're making Tsukiyomi a woman. So she is maybe she's in this maybe not necessarily the moon goddess, but maybe a moon princess, or maybe that's my takeaway from it. And like I said, I am very ignorant on Japanese mythology, so I could be 100% wrong. So do educate me and correct me in the comments down below. But I'm just curious because she references the moon, thinking about her name, and I was like, oh, is that what that's supposed to be? We'll probably dive into it next episode to kind of get maybe even deeper explanation on some of this. But it's like, how do you fight this? Like, where do you go about stopping Sime, who has so much control, is able to kind of create these worlds in infinite number times, and obviously Takeru being a key to the culmination of all this 1,000 years of essentially research and development. Like, how do you contend with something on such a massive scale? How do you shut this system down, essentially? So it is going to be so fascinating to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.